What does transformation healing meaning to you? What's the challenging have you overcome in your life that transformed who you are today? Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday. Welcome to our Transformation Healing Podcast. I'm your host, Riya Wang, a certified transformation healing coach, a spiritual mentor. My healing journey has taught me that meaning of my life, purpose, and passion for helping others transcend the limitation, bring back confidence, passion, and joy. I have traveled around the world to share how healing can change our lives. In this podcast show, I have invited my guests from all over the world come to here to share their inspiration stories, wisdom, and knowledge with all of you. That will be help you to implement those wonderful tools into your daily life. Today, I have the beautiful guest, Stacy. Welcome to the Transformation Healing Podcast, Stacy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, Stacy. Wow. Let me introduce what is the Stacy. Stacy is a woman's empower coach, speaker, and author of Love Yourself Healthy. So, Stacy, you brought your book with that?
I did. Yes, here we go.
Maybe a little bit forward, we can see clear.
Yes,
Love Yourself Healthy. Oh, I love that cover.
Thank you.
We will let Stacy talk about a little bit more about how do you love yourself. But before that, I still have a little bit more talk about Stacy. Stacy is a certified transformational life coach. Through Stacy's coach, she coaches women about sex, love, and relationship, even tantric coaching to expanding your sexuality. That's, I think a lot of women maybe would love to learn how to be more sexier. Is that what you're teaching?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So tell us, Stacy, when you're teaching women about the love, you say you are teaching most is focus for the woman, right?
Yes, that's correct.
What does transformation healing meaning to you, and how that relate with what you're teaching about the love?
So transformational healing means to me about discovering, who you are. And I believe that the bridge for the transformational healing is love. And through self-love and compassion and grace for ourselves, and loving all parts of ourselves, even the parts that just feel a little bit like maybe we're not the most proud of, or maybe we've resisted, or maybe got made fun of when we were younger. But when we can embrace all of our parts with love and with grace and with compassion, that's when we get to take off the mask and be who we are and just show up as ourselves. And that's such a freeing experience, not only in yourself, but with your relationship as well. When two people can come together and experience that, it's magical.
Oh, yes, I can imagine that. So tell us a little bit more. Do you have some really inspiration stories that you can brought here to share with others, share with our audience? Then they can gather some tips that use in their life. We talk about the self-love, right?
Okay,
Then
sure.
all of the love start with self-love. Many people knowing about the self-love, but how to implement that self-love into the daily life? It's not about, oh, you treat yourself nice with the mail, or you go to somewhere, take a vacation. What is deeply talk about the self-love?
Yeah, I appreciate that you said that it's not about, the manicures and the pedicures. And I think that we can get hung up on that.
Hmm.
And that's okay. Don't get me wrong.
We
I like,
love
I like,
beautiful things,
I
right?
like treating myself. So I'm not saying that. I like to think of self-love and self-care more along the nourishment part, just like,
Mm.
we nourish our body with the foods that we eat. So if we're looking at nourishment, it's not always what we're doing, it's how we're being. So if self-care, I like to think of it as more about how we're being to ourselves. So it can start with the thoughts that we're thinking about ourselves, the words that we're saying to ourselves, the spaciousness or lack of spaciousness in our day that we create for ourselves. If we're always busy, we do everything up into the minute and we don't even have time just to even breathe, and we're really finding our own worth in doing all of the things, then sometimes when some of those things are gone, maybe it's being an empty nester because your children are moving on,
Hmm.
or maybe your relationship doesn't work out, or you have somebody that passes away, or whatever that may be in your life. If all of your worth and your worthiness is in that other person and you don't have it for yourself, then you're going to find yourself lacking and feeling like there's a void, something to fill.
Mm. Yes,
Yeah.
that make me think about it. We self-love is also is really is the journey, not just a period of time. We in
Yeah.
the throughout different ages, we have different parts of yourself than criticizing ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're younger. I remember when I was younger, I was look at the mirror, I always think of myself not good enough, not
Yeah.
pretty enough. So
Right.
now look back, even now I think some people, probably some women have same like me, sometimes still look at the mirror, some say, oh, I wish I would be prettier.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
that thoughts come by with that. Criticizing yourself is really the lacking of self-love.
Yeah.
So
And
what
it's
is the
beating
tips?
yourself up, right?
Yeah, beating yourself up. Probably, I think you are, look at you, you are so beautiful and amazing. If you tell the people that sometimes you are look at the mirror and say, oh, I think, oh, maybe I should be prettier, people will be shocking, right? But
Sure.
they do, I think they do still have the woman is so beautiful, but they still sometimes judge themselves. So how what are the good tips you can give to them? Each day look the mirror. You talk about the affirmation. What is the stronger affirmation we can use every day when we look the mirror?
Yeah. I think it starts with some of the smaller things that we do. So, first thing when I wake up in the morning and no makeup and no fancy ring light to soften things or anything like that, and you get your light in the bathroom and you're like, "Woo!" Sometimes we can all feel that way. And so it's a matter of just of being able to appreciate, to say, this is who I am. Most everything that we see on social media, has filters, and it's just so doctored up. And
Doctor
if we,
Al,
it
I
really
love the way
is.
how do you said.
It's true though. And so if we can look at, like, how can we be our best self? And part of being our best self is through changing the thoughts that we're thinking about ourselves. And it can be a slow process. Don't try to do it all at once. But if you're saying to yourself, like, I'm not good at this, or whatever that is, or like you said, I'm not, I'm not smart enough, or I'm not an X enough, fill in the blank of whatever that is. If you simply just reframe that to say, I'm focusing on this. I am in the process of improving and growing in that area.
Mm.
It's just changing the language, but words are so powerful. I love affirmations and I love visualizations. And I think sometimes um, we can forget that just simply changing some word choices around can make a huge difference, because we wouldn't necessarily say to our best friend the same things we're saying to ourselves. So how can we just change it around to say, if you're struggling in an area, whether it's in your relationship or maybe with your health, and you're looking to lose weight, or you have a goal in your business, whatever that is, if you're focused on saying, I'm growing in this area, I'm working on improving this area, it's much better than saying, I don't do this very well, or I'm not good at this.
That is wonderful. I love what you said. It's really you focus on the process. It's not
Yeah.
the results, the end, the results. Just like you
Right.
said, I'm working on this. I will get there. So that is the process. You're working on it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
That's beautiful. Then we talk about a little bit more, like I was asking you at the beginning, what is the inspiration story when you doing all of the things, including yourself or your clients? You can bring that one come to here to share with us.
Yeah. So with regards to like what inspires me, that there's so many stories, right? We all have so many stories that we could share. I would say, one of the stories that I love to share is that, I was previously married and divorced, and that was my second divorce, and that's not really something that most people are very proud of. And that was 7 years ago. And I really had a belief that, I was in my mid 40s, and I had a belief that all the good guys were taken, and that I must have had a bad picker, because, something was wrong with me. And so I had that belief as I was dating, and I attracted all the guys that were not taken, of course, because I believed all the good ones were taken. And as I was actually working with a coach at the time, and one of the things that it just like shifted in me is, she said, if you have this belief, this is what you're going to be attracting. So what do you want to have in your life? And what I realized was all of the things that I wanted in my soon partner, that I was visualizing at the time that wasn't there, were things that were not necessarily things that I myself had been really focused on. So I had a list of things I wanted from someone else that I thought would make this perfect arrangement, right? To be able to have this perfect marriage that I envisioned. And I wasn't showing up for myself in that way. And so when I shifted my belief to say, no, actually, I don't believe that to be true. I believe that there is the perfect man out there for me. And I took the time to list exactly what I wanted. And then I spent the time working on me. So I spent the time, the things that I wanted in the man were the things that I decided to develop and grow and learn. And as soon as I did that, I met my now husband.
Wow, that's the
Yes.
wonderful tips. So I'm
Yes.
still single, looking for my perfect match. So
Yes.
that's you just shared with me or with our audience. If you are the single woman, also here, there, Stacy, a beautiful woman, find the perfect match. Tell you the number one tips that you write down everything you wanted from that
Yes.
man. Is that correct?
Yes. I put it on a 3x5 card. Yep. I put
How many on
everything.
your list? Can you share a little bit more? How many on the list? What we are looking for?
I put on my card, I started with what was important to me. So what were my values and what were my beliefs?
Mm,
And I went, I also thought about, like, how do I want to spend, how do you want to spend your free time? Oftentimes I meet with people, and I know this is the case, that there's nothing that you have in common if you don't enjoy hobbies together. What are your weekends going to look like? And
mm,
so really looking at, like, if you like to do a certain thing, like, let's just say, oh, like my husband and I, we both enjoy hiking a lot, and we both enjoy going out on the boat. In fact, that was on my 3x5 card. I wanted a guy that had a boat. That was more the materialistic part of it, but not just that. But it's important because if I didn't like boating, or if I didn't like hiking, or biking, then we wouldn't be a very good match because he wouldn't have someone to do that with, or vice versa. So I think it's important to look at, how do you want to spend your free time? What's important to you? What are your values? What are your beliefs? And what are some of your non-negotiables that you don't want to settle for? Because I think a lot of times, especially women, we settle. We
I
believe that
know.
we're not good enough to get what we really want. And I
I
had
think,
somebody say to me, a family member, that said, what's on your list does not exist. And I said, oh, yes, he does.
oh yes. Now I
Yeah.
needed to put one on my list. Say because I have the false belief. I was believe I will be never find the guy like that. Because I love travel. My goal is travel around the world. I be able to do that by myself. I
Yeah.
will be always think I will be never find the man who's travel with me because they don't have time or they don't have this. Just find a lot of different reasons. So I'm going to do my solo travel. Will be say I'm fine. I'm travel with myself. It's nice. But I will think it will be nice. You travel with
Yeah.
loved ones, right?
Of course. So that's one of the things that you would put as one of your non-negotiables. Someone that honored your time and respected when you did want to go on a solo trip, and one that is also willing to go along with you.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you. I
Yeah.
definitely will put on my list, Stacy. So I also hear a lot of couples, even married or in the relationship, they will be saying, "Oh, I think it's important have my own space. I don't need to do everything with my loved ones." But I also find out later on when they start with that, yeah, it's great to have your own relationship. But like you said, if you always doing things by your own, you're not compared with your loved ones, that on the weekend you start more and more you grow to different part. Is that
Yeah.
true?
I believe so. I believe it's important to, the way that I talk about it is that, most people look at a relationship as, an individual relationship. So two individual, people coming together to form a relationship. And I really believe because an individual relationship is all about my needs, my wants, and while I believe that's important, when you're coming together in a relationship, you want the relationship to win.
Mm.
And so you want to collaborate into that relationship. So you don't want to compromise. So you really want what I have called a couple relationship. So let's use your example. If you have a belief that if you were to get involved in a relationship, you would have to compromise your travel desires. And
Mm.
so that would be something that would hinder a relationship. And so you would want to go into a relationship in the very beginning to set some loving boundaries around this, to say, like, I'm welcoming you into a couple relationship with me, and this is what is important to me about this. And so you would work on a collaborative plan versus compromise, because collaboration is all about win-win. It's like what we're doing here today.
Yeah.
Compromise is a lose-lose situation, and no one really wins in that scenario. So yeah, it's important to be able to have personal freedom in a relationship, but ultimately, what is the vision for the relationship? If you want the relationship to win, then there needs to be a common vision.
Mm. Yes. That's wonderful tips I got today. Probably next time I find my perfect one, I will be tell you, Stacy, that I changed my number one on my list.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Stacy. Then I have another questions. I always have a lot of questions to ask my
Yeah,
guests
yeah,
because
please.
that's I want to give more my audience, have more tips to come with the relationship. how important. We always say, yes, sex is important. I have a friend who's married her husband for over 25 years. So when we talk about the sex, then she will be saying, oh, sex is not that important. So how important the sex in the relationship? We talk about we know at the beginning sex is always wonderful, but how to continue in the later, longer relationship?
Yeah, I like to look at it, in looking at sex more of a place of intimacy. Because sometimes there's medical reasons why people can't have sex, right? When we talk about intimacy, that's the closeness, right? Coming together and being intimate enough to communicate our fears, our desires, our hesitancies, our emotions, and our feelings. And most people get guarded in their relationship because there's been a lack of trust, or there's some sort of a fear. And so women don't feel safe. And so they build the wall up, and they kind of have it's okay, you stay over here kind of a thing. But what ends up happening is you're more like roommates if you're not intimate.
Yes.
And the longer that you're roommates, really, you don't have the same level of closeness. And what we all crave is connection, that deeper connection where we can be our true self, and expose who we are with a partner that's able to hold that in a safe space. And so that's really what's important about intimacy. I think that we can kind of pretend and get into a point when we're in a longer term relationship that, oh, it's not really that important, or I don't really need that. But if we're not communicating, and we're not having those deeper connections, then ultimately there is going to be a wedge in the relationship. And it does create more of a separation.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Then I know we have so many questions. Want you here to help a lot of
Yeah.
audience. So now the last question is, before we go, the last question is, I know you also is Tantric teacher. So tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about more Tantric, because a lot of, I think, Western culture, a lot of people think about Tantric is sex, but we know
Yes.
that's way more than just sex.
Yeah. Yeah. Tantra is way more than sex. It's even a basic, example is really, I think what I would equate to it is a way of being very mindful, of being very present and aware. So, there doesn't even have to be any touching. There's an exercise that I do with some couples, and you're just doing eye gazing, and so you're just looking into each other's eyes. And if you've not experienced that, it's really, really powerful. I've done it with friends, not just romantic. And it's literally where you're just looking in the other person's eye. You want to focus on one eye, because if you try to focus on two, you'll go back and forth. That can be a little
That's
awkward.
that's good to know. Just focus one eye, don't look at the
Somewhat.
two eyes.
Pick one. And if you get tired of
Okay.
the one, you can always switch to the other.
Mm.
And it's about really just deeply looking in each other's eyes. And I would challenge our viewers to try that. If you feel, that you feel safe with your partner, or with a friend, and you set a timer for like a minute, and you would be amazed at the emotional connection that you'll exchange, and how just 1 minute, like, it is powerful. I would say the majority of people are in tears in just like 1 minute, because it's a place where it's really hard to keep up the wall when you're staring at somebody in their eyes. And so
Wow.
Tantra is about that. It's about the beauty and the art of being present and slowing down. It's the opposite of our day-to-day busyness.
Wow, that make me feel a little goosebump come up. I
Yeah.
think that make me think about a long time ago. Not long time ago. I don't remember when I read the article and also see in the New York have one artist did that people sit in the middle in the museum, she's sitting in the middle, then everybody come just stare at her, look, just eye look the eyes for a minute.
Yeah.
Then long line, that's video, a lot of people just look at the eyes, doesn't say anything. Some people is just have that emotional breakdown, the
Yeah.
tears, the just have all different emotions. I
Yeah,
guess
it is.
that's
It is a
just,
very emotional experience.
yeah. I
Uh,
definitely would find someone to try that one.
yeah, someone you feel safe with, and you want to be safe in your environment as well.
Hmm.
And and you can have an intention if you want to. I think it's important, when you're doing that with the say, it could just be something like, I just want to, send you some love. Like, it just can be, that's my intention, is just to be sending you the love, and you're just looking straight at them. And when you're doing that and you're having that level of connection, whew, it's powerful.
Yeah, I can definitely feel the power of that. Thank you so much, Stacy.
You're so
Everyone,
welcome.
we have Stacy come here. Wow, shared so many wonderful tips here. The how to love yourself, how to make that intimacy in your relationship, and this look at your eye, the tantric knowledge, one part of this. Ooh, the amazing, amazing tools. Thank you so much, Stacy. Before you go, I always ask you to share, I guess, to share where is the best way they can find you. I know I will post all your information on this podcast already, but another way, do you have the one you preferred? How do they contact with you?
Yeah, I would say that the best way is for women. They are able to join my Facebook group.
Mm.
It's the Relationship Restoration for Women. So if you're in a long-term relationship, or you're married, or you're looking to get into one, I do weekly trainings within that group as well. And so lots of great information and ways to be able to offer you support in your relationship.
That's wonderful. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. You're
Thank
welcome.
you for being here. It's just such a wonderful conversation with you, Stacy.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to talk to you next time.
Yes. I'll look forward to hearing how this all works out for you.
Ah, yes. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. If have any questions you want to ask Stacy, please welcome to contact with her. If you have the inspiration stories you like to share with the world, you can welcome to be my guest on my podcast. I'm looking forward to see you next Tuesday. Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Bye.
Stacy.
Thank you.